I know it's hard, I know it's complicated, but I promised you I've been waiting here forever. I had a much to say, but you're not here with me. No, we're invincible, like fire in the snow. Trust me when I say you are my beautiful world, and I'm feeling it all. We should make an effort. It's true you're so far away, and it's true you don't feel the same. But if you take my hand, we can try and go back. Starting from scratch, I won't let you go. No, I can't let you go, 'cause you're my gravity, and I will never leave. I won't let you go. No, baby, I will not, because I still believe you're my gravity. You will never be what I expected. Different frequencies, that's why we ain't connected. You know I will make it through. I got nothing to lose but you. It's true you're so far away, and it's true I can feel the same. It's another day, you know you want me to stay, but I go my way. I won't let you go. No, I can't let you go, 'cause you're my gravity, and I will never leave. I won't let you go. No, baby, I will not, because I still believe you're my gravity. You're my gravity. You're calling out my name, but the echo numbs your pain. Sorry, but more than just a shadow, I'm more than just a man. You don't care how I feel, you don't know how I feel. No, you don't know how. I wash away the sorrow till my heart can beat again. You're my gravity. No, you're my gravity. I will let you go. The only thing that I know, you were my gravity, but now I had to leave. I will let you go. Why do you think that I want? Why do you think that I want? I know how to breathe into my gravity. 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 I know it's hard, I know it's complicated, but I promised you I've been waiting here forever. I had a much to say, but you're not here with me. No, we're invincible, like fire in the snow. Trust me when I say you are my beautiful world, and I'm feeling it all. We should make an effort. It's true you're so far away, and it's true you don't feel the same. But if you take my hand, we can try and go back. Starting from scratch, I won't let you go. No, I can't let you go, 'cause you're my gravity, and I will never leave. I won't let you go. No, baby, I will not.
Warning. The Duracell Cup Series data file you have attempted to access is out of date. Uploading current file now.
It's a brand new car from stem to stern, and it's never been raced at these speeds.
The next gen car is opportunity.
Everything is different with the exception of like the seat, the steering wheel, and your helmet.
Unknown creates excitement.
Talking about my generation.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome here as we get set for the 26th race of the second season of the NNSCRA Duracell Ultra Lite Series. This is it, ladies and gentlemen. This is the next to last race of the season. This is the race that determines who the four drivers will be that will fight for the championship next week at Michigan. And they get ready to take on one of the toughest tracks on the schedule. It's on this portion of the schedule, this race for a reason, the historic worn-out track known as Rockingham Speedway, North Carolina Speedway if you're being formal, the Rock if you're a driver that is going to want to take this venue on head-on, one-on-one. This is going to be a wild one here this weekend for both Cup and Light Series drivers, but it's the Light drivers that we're spotlighting here today, as 7 drivers, make that 8 drivers, will fight for 3 available spots. I say 3 because 1 spot is already occupied. Eli Bright last week at Daytona, picking up his first win of the season, secures himself a spot in the Final Four. 3 more spots will be up for grabs. We could see another of our playoff drivers lock themselves in with a win today, which would leave a minimum of 2 drivers that will point their way in, but we could see all 3 of the other drivers that make their way in get in via points. It's going to be really, really tight, and the point standings are super close coming into this race as well. If we take Eli Bright out of the conversation, Cam Wright Jr. is only 6 points above the cut line. Kyle Langland is only 4 points above the cut line. We have a tie for that cut line spot, 4th in the standings, between Skylar Taylor and Juan Garcia. We have a tie for 6th in the standings between Colin Grates and Aubrey Powell, who are only 1 point below the cut line. And then Cody Majorek, 8th in points. He is only 2 points below the cut line. The only driver coming into this race that really is somewhat distanced from the cut line would be Roberto Crown Jr. Roberto Crown Jr. coming into this race 12 points below the cut line, but with a 30-car field could easily make that up, and of course if the 18 goes to victory lane today, could easily win your way into the final round, and he is the highest starting of the playoff drivers. Second highest starting of the playoff drivers here this afternoon, as he'll roll off from the outside of row number 3. It's Juan Garcia who's actually the highest starting of the playoff drivers, as he'll be on the outside of the front row, but Trackhouse Racing teammates both with good starting track position for this one. It is a Toyota out of Haas Racing, however, that was the fastest in qualifying here yesterday. Wes McCoy picking up his first pole of his Duracell Ultra Light Series career and looking to translate that into his second win on the season after formally taking a victory in the Bluegrass State, looking to join the likes of Juan Garcia, Colin Grace, Cam Wright Jr., Roberto Crown Jr., Nathan Stapleton as a multi-time winner here in Season 2 of Light Series competition. It's time to get out down trackside, though, get those most famous words in motorsports and get ready to find out who joins Eli Bright as a Final Four competitor for the championship.
Drivers, start your engines.
Pace car going to lead the field off of pit road. 30 cars in total, including some Cup Series interlopers, if you will. Getting some extra track time in preparation for tomorrow's Cup Series race here from Rockingham. Saw there on your starting lineup your 8 playoff contenders highlighted in yellow, intermingled through the field. One starting on the front row, one starting shotgun on the field, and Cam Wright Jr. This is a racetrack that for the most part is all about good starting track position and being able to maintain said track position. We'll see if anybody's going to be able to work their way through the field here. Maybe pit road will be that deciding factor. 79 laps before we determine who's going to fight for the championship next week at Michigan. Green flag is in the air, and we're racing at the Rock. Great exit out of turn 2 for Juan Garcia. He's going to swing to the lead. Wes McCoy, the pole sitter, is not even going to lead the first lap as he'll slot into second. Dave Smith will go to third. That's a huge lap led. A bonus point for Juan Garcia there could be important. Remember, he was tied, gridlocked with Skylar Taylor for fourth in the standings coming into this race. As already issues for another of our playoff drivers there. That was Roberto Crown Jr. May have brushed the wall off of 2, and he has dropped like a stone back to mid-pack after starting in 6th. Three wide back here. Ooh, Craig Batson almost got into the right rear quarter panel of Aubrey Powell. And there's Roberto Crown Jr. He fell from 6th to 24th in the span of a lap. As there's Cam Wright Jr. to his inside, trying to make his way forward after starting this race from last. He's made up some ground here in the early going. Cody Majorek just up ahead of him there in the 70. Majorek 8th in points, 2 points below the cut line, and here's Eli Bright, the only driver coming into this race that is worry-free, knowing he'll be competing for the title next week at Michigan. Remember, this is the first season that we have ever had a playoff system here in Light Series competition. Last year, when Eric Monaco won the championship, it was the classic point system. You had to rely on consistency. Wins were important, but those races you didn't win, you had to have a solid finish, get as many points as you possibly could to be able to win the title. This season, it's been about wins as well. It's been about consistency, but maybe not as quite on a larger scale. And we ended up seeing, I mean, there's every possibility here with us having a tie for 4th, a tie for 5th, 2 points separating 5 drivers in the stands around the cut line coming into this race. We ended up having, back in the first round of the playoffs, we ended up having 9 drivers advance. There were supposed to only be 7, but we had a 3-way tie for 7th place at the conclusion of Dover. So we had to have all 3 of those drivers that tied for the 7th spot. They had to all transfer in, which meant that only 1 driver got eliminated in the first round of the playoffs. There is every possibility here, folks, that if we end up leaving here today with a tie for 4th in the standings, or for that cut line, whatever the case may be, we could have more than 4 drivers competing for the championship next week in Michigan. We're right now dubbing it the Final 4, but there is a possibility we could have a Final 5, a Final 6, depending on what the circumstances are going into next week. It's not guaranteed that it's only going to be 4 drivers. We're going to advertise it as such until something happens at the end of this race where the math says, hey, you're having more than 4 drivers. But there is that possibility, so we have to keep an open mind on that. Looking at Kyle Langland right now in the 8th position. Langland started this race from 15th, so he's made a net gain in the early stages of this one, taking advantage of the fresh tires and everybody being all clumped up together. Langland coming into this one 4 points to the good above the cut line. Colin Grace, who was 1 point below the cut line in that tie for 6th, right now in the 5th position. Currently got, it looks like, 3 playoff drivers inside of the top 10, including race leader Juan Garcia, who is starting to have that race lead eaten into, well, pretty quickly there by Wes McCoy. Look at the ground he gained into 3. He was able to drive it in really deep. And he's looking to get that race lead back. He hasn't led a lap yet after starting on the pole position. Ralph Mason right now holding down 3rd. Mike Tellier right behind him. Big opportunity for a couple of drivers here that have yet to go to victory lane this season to be able to nab themselves a checkered flag. We've so far in the 5 completed playoff races had 3 of those races won by playoff contenders, 2 races won by non-playoff drivers. Nathan Stapleton got his 2nd win of the season back at Nashville Superspeedway. Chris Dollerton most recently getting his first Lite Series victory at Arizona Speedway. Mason and Tellier. Mason coming into this race currently, if I can find him here on the grid, 22nd in points. Mike Tellier 26th. Looking for their first career wins. Colin Grace has now caught up to this group as well. And it looks like Kyle Langland may have gotten shuffled out a bit there. Oh no, maybe not. I thought he got bypassed there, but he's still in 8th. Well, might not be now as he drifts up the track there out of 4. Here comes Jack Mitchell to the inside. Mitchell getting some extra track time as he's in the hunt for advancing into the Final 4 on the Cup Series side here tomorrow afternoon. All-star car out of Adrenaline Motorsports. And right behind him, Eli Bright. Mentioned this in qualifying yesterday. Eli Bright locked into the Final 4 after his victory at Daytona. But that doesn't mean that this guy today doesn't want to go out there and finish well at Rockingham. Momentum is a huge thing when it comes to a playoff system. And for Eli Bright, coming off that high of that victory last week at Daytona, he wants to ride that wave of momentum. He wants another solid outing here today. Top 10 would be great. Top 5 would be fabulous. Another win, I think we'd be looking at him as the one to beat when we get to Michigan next week. And right now, putting together a solid run inside of the top 10, trying to work his way around the pole sitter Wes McCoy. That would move him into 8th. Cody Majorek right now the last driver inside of the top 10. And look who's worked his way almost into the top 10 already. 11th place is where we find Cam Wright Jr. He started 30th in this one. It has taken him 16 laps, and he has almost broken up into the top 10. So that says to me that this team gave away a lot in qualifying for long run speed, and he has put that to good use. As 3-time winner on the season, Cam Wright Jr. looking to make his way into the Final 4 to compete for the championship. He ended up being in that tooth and nail battle with Roberto Crown Jr. for the regular season championship during the first 20 races. And he came into this race with a mediocre 6-point cushion. Consider this for Eli Bright as well. Eli had a great run back at Arizona. If we don't calculate, let's say that Eli Bright finished 2nd last week at Daytona. Let's take away the 5 bonus points he got for winning. Let's take away the bonus point he got for finishing P1. Let's say he finishes P2. So let's take 6 points away from what he's got right now. He would have a total of 22 points between himself and the cut line coming into this week. So even despite the fact that he's already locked himself into the Final Four with his victory, he would, in a 30-car field and a 22-point cushion, almost have a guaranteed spot into the Final Four next week had he not had that checkered flag. And with the run he's putting together here, up inside of the top 10, it'd be almost a guarantee that he'd be in the Final Four. So, tremendous job for him. And, you know, consider as well that he was kind of the outlier for Trackhouse Racing. Juan Garcia had been to victory lane multiple times. Roberto Crown Jr. had been to victory lane multiple times. Obviously, the All-Star car has been fluctuated back and forth with Bryce Egan, Reggie Fogelman, Sarah Fogelman taking turns in it, so it's hard to kind of find a sense of consistency there, but Eli Bright, he'd been in the conversation for quite a number of races. Sonoma's one of the big standout ones, where it looked like he was going to be maybe one of the strongest cars there and maybe pick up the victory, close out the deal. He's kind of been a little bit behind the rest of his teammates, and he picked a perfect opportunity to find victory lane at Daytona to lock himself up a spot in the Final Four. Some good battling here for fourth place on back. Brody Kupski having a solid outing. Another driver out of Adrenaline Motorsports, and right behind him, Cat Batson. Brody coming into this race 18th in points, had a good run last week at Daytona, moved up a couple of spots in the standings. Cat Batson coming into this race 16th in points. Has had a pretty solid season, has Cat, but it's been up and down. There's not been a whole lot of consistency. Last week was a down week, dropped from 14th to 16th in points. But you talk about drivers that are looking to get their first win of the season here tonight, deny a playoff driver the opportunity to win their way into the Final Four. Got a lot of candidates up here with Mason, Tellier, Kupski, and Batson. Jack Mitchell continues to march forward. He's now up to 6th. We've already had a driver that has won a Lights race and then a Cup race in Eric Monaco, and we've now had a driver that's won a Cup race and a Lights race in Chris Dollerton, so those two accolades are no longer on the table. Doesn't mean that Jack Mitchell doesn't want to pick up his first career Light Series victory, and he's got a rear decklet full of Eli Bright, who just made his way around Colin Grace to move up to the 6th position. Correction, 7th position. Cody Majoric, Colin Grace side by side here right now. Things are looking really tight around that cut line here, especially with Juan Garcia leading this race. Cody Majoric and Kyle Langland making some pretty good cases for themselves right now. The problem for them is that Cam Wright Jr. is right behind them. So right now, if we're talking about the battle on the cut line spot, you're looking at these three drivers, the 27, the 70, and the 95. Kyle Langland has drifted back to 14th, so you see him back there behind Galligan. He needs to find a little something here to be able to get back up into that conversation. And Skylar Taylor is currently back in 17th place. So both of those drivers need to work their way forward here if they're to remain in the hunt. The one thing that a lot of drivers do not want to see right now is this 19 out in front leading this race. Because not only has he wrapped up a bonus point for leading the lap, he is currently looking to solidify another bonus point for leading the most laps, which he could do if he leads up to past halfway. He's the only driver that's led so far today. And also bear in mind, he came into this race tied with Skylar Taylor for that 4th in the standings cut line position. If he wins, that shifts the cut line down a spot. And so other drivers that were either just below the cut line or just above may find themselves all below the cut line at the conclusion. But Ralph Mason, he has been right there with Juan Garcia. He has not let him put a wheel wrong, or else he's going to pay the price. Also going to have to keep an eye here in this one, what the fuel window looks like. More than likely, they're going to go as far as they can on fuel, but they are paying the price for it in tires. This is a very abrasive racetrack on the Goodyear rubber. We're already seeing race leader Juan Garcia put down nearly a second and a half slower lap times than he did in the early stages of this one. So there's a lot of time to be gained if you pull off the undercut on pit road. The question is, though, if the fuel window is around the halfway point, do you run the risk that you might not make it on fuel to be able to get the advantage on tires? Mason, you saw him drifting up there. We're going to see a lot more of that too as drivers struggle for grip on the entry of these corners. Mason going to lose second, maybe third, maybe fourth. When you get kicked up there to that upper groove and start getting freight trained, you're just looking for a space in line to be able to ride again, cool those Goodyears down. Eli Bright's going to dive to the inside of Mason, and Mason may not be done with losing spots. Jack Mitchell now going to go by him for fifth. Cody Majoric's lined up right there as Mike Tellier now moves into the second spot. This is a racetrack where it is all about finesse. Turns 1 and 2, completely different approach than what you have to do over in 3 and 4. And all the while, the car's handling goes away, the grip goes away, and the approach continues to be different. Let's go on board with the 3M Ford Mustang as he's looking to run down Juan Garcia. Listen to what it takes to get around Rockingham. About 5 laps away from halfway here. That's about the delta these drivers want to hit. If they are able to get past the halfway point, they know that they'll be able to make it the rest of the way on their pit stop. Some bad news if you're Roberto Crown Jr. fans, at least at this point in time. A multi-time winner who started this race from 6th. We saw him go up, maybe brush the wall in the early going of this one off of 2. He has drifted all the way back to 23rd place and currently is in a pack that is being led by 21st place Nathan Stapleton. Roberto Crown Jr. came into this race the lowest of the playoff contenders. He was a total of 12 points below the cut line. Unless his fortunes change here in the second half of this race, it looks like he very well may be one of those getting eliminated from advancing into the Final Four. Aubrey Powell, who came into this race only 1 point below the cut line, currently mired back in 16th, trying to make a move here on Chris Dollerton, our winner from a couple of weeks ago. Kyle Langland, right now in 14th with Skylar Taylor in 13th place. Langland was 4 points to the good coming into this race, ahead of Skylar Taylor, who was tied with Juan Garcia for 4th in the standings. On a normal day, 13th, 14th, that's not a bad run at a track like Rockingham. But in an elimination race with how close the points are and other competitors that were around you or tied with you for positions in the playoff standings around the cut line area, it's not great. Here we go, pit stops, and this is right on the halfway point. Juan Garcia from the lead is going to be the first one to make the dive. Not going to allow anybody to do the undercut strategy on tires. Jack Mitchell is in as well, along with Ralph Mason. Skylar Taylor is in. Pole sitter Wes McCoy. Dave Smith, David Dixon, Cole Koibe in. That turns the lead over to Eli Bright, who'll give it up to come to pit road this time. Bonus point lap led for him. Mike Tellier is in. Cody Majorek Colin Grace. I see Aubrey Powell back there, Cam Wright Jr. and Kyle Langland. This is a very narrow pit road. You saw near contact between Cole Coybe and Cam Wright Jr. as Coybe was pulling out of his stall. Brody Kupski goes an extra lap here. And now he'll make the dive to pit lane. Sarah Fogelman making her 10th start here in Lite's competition. Sean Galligan, Daniel Voiles all coming in, along with Craig Batson. And this may be the driver that cycles to the lead. Did not allow anybody the opportunity to undercut him and get that advantage on tires. Juan Garcia, who it might be close between him and his teammate Eli Bright. He's going to come out ahead of the 20 car, though. It's going to be Trackhouse. Maybe 1-2 as Jack Mitchell tries to close up here on Eli Bright for that runner-up spot. He's got a big run. Can he get to the right rear and rotate through the center here on the top side of 1 and 2? He's going to have a nice run here down the back straightaway. That is a textbook pass at Rockingham there for Jack Mitchell. He'll move into second. Bright will drift back to third, but Juan Garcia continues to show the way. And he has now locked up the bonus point for most laps led. So in the case of drivers being close to tying for spots, that could be important, especially if Juan Garcia is not able to close this race out and take the checkered flag. Cody Majorek going to leapfrog a number of drivers here with this strategy as he's up to 5th. Could this be enough for Majorek to be able to point his way up into the final 4? Colin Grace right now is in 7th. Skylar Taylor is 8th. Man, I don't even want to try and figure out who is where, especially with Juan Garcia leading. How in the world do you figure it out? Cam Wright Jr. right now is in 10th. Is that enough for him to stay above the cut line? Aubrey Powell right now in 11th. Kyle Langland currently in 16th. I'd be a little concerned if I'm the 26 team right now. I think they would be just below the cut line with where they're currently scored. And Roberto Crown Jr. is still back here. He just ran his fastest lap of the race here on lap 45. But he's mired 26th. So it is not looking good for him. Brody Kupski still sitting on pit road. Some problems for his Chevrolet as his teammate is trying to run down Juan Garcia for the top position. Closing up on 30 laps to go. We know Bright's already locked in. Juan Garcia right now would be locked in with running first if he were to win this race. And then I would say it's going to be super, super close between Cam Wright Jr., Skylar Taylor, Aubrey Powell, Colin Grace, and Cody Majorek. I don't know who of those drivers would get the final 2 spots. Brody Kupski is back out on the racetrack, albeit 3 laps down. And he's going to battle here with his teammate Jack Mitchell, which may end up helping Juan Garcia. Mitchell trying to swing around the outside of the 41, and he'll do so. Eli Bright's got a lot of company now. Mike Tellier there, Cody Majorek, and Ralph Mason as they'll all come up on the 41, who is not off the pace, it doesn't look like. Looks like he's up to speed here. Mentioned how narrow pit road is, so there might have been some contact that took place for Brody. Tough break there for him. Talked about he had a good run last week at Daytona, moved up a couple of spots in the standings. But right now he is the last car running, 4 laps down in 30th place. Mike Tellier with a look to the inside there on Eli Bright. This is for 3rd. You saw both those cars kind of bottom out as they exit out of turn 4. This is not a smooth racetrack. It is a very bumpy racetrack. It's an old, worn-out surface, which is why we love coming here. It's kind of why we end up having these particular racetracks here in this final round leading up to the season finale at Michigan. At Arizona, you got to be technical. You got to be good at the mile-and-a-half racetracks. At Daytona, you got to be a little bit lucky. And here at Rockingham, you need to be smooth. You need to be conservative. Jack Mitchell is there. He has caught Juan Garcia. Question is now, how does he find his way around him? Honestly, I have to see if Mitchell goes to that top side again. Oh, and actually, Brody Kupski goes up there to the outside, maybe trying to get one of his laps back. But Mitchell was able to make the pass around Eli Bright for what was then second. He was able to get around Brody Kupski via the high side. I feel like if you could get to the right rear quarter panel of the 19, you would maybe be able to swing around him for the race lead. And if these guys continue to battle, you see Mike Tellier is starting to come into the conversation. And then Cody Majorek will do the same, and then so will Ralph Mason, and so will Eli Bright, and we'll have ourselves 6 drivers up here in the hunt. Look at Brody Kupski. Looking to get one of his 4 laps back the hard way, and he'll do so. And he does it around the outside line. I think if you're any of these drivers behind Juan Garcia, he's not going to get off the bottom. I think that second lane is a viable option. I think you got to go up there. You got to try it. See Mitchell kind of slide up there off the corner, trying to see maybe if he can get a run to get to that right rear of Juan Garcia. Been watching, we saw when we were on board with Mike Tellier, we see drivers kind of peel low off of turn 2, run a bit of a defensive line down the back straightaway. That is in a sense kind of hurting them 2 ways. Number 1, it's scrubbing off some speed with a lot of the wheel input they're having on corner exit, so it's hurting their straight line speed down Thunder Alley. The other thing that it's causing an issue with is it's giving them a shallower entry into turn 3. They're not able to arc the corner quite as well. So that's hurting their ability of being able to rotate through the center of the corner. You see right there, Mitchell drifting up the racetrack through the center of the corner. That is a byproduct of having that shallow entry because that right front wants to slide. And it opens up the door right there for Mike Tellier to go to the inside and move into the second spot. So, honestly, I get running the defensive line down the back straightaway. You don't want to let somebody to the left your quarter panel, but at the same time, you're giving up an optimal entry into the corner. And as we saw there for Jack Mitchell, you could end up slipping up and paying the price. Get Brody Kupski pulling away. Now, granted, he also has about 3-4 lap fresher tires than everybody else, and even 1-2 lap fresher tires can be a huge difference maker at a track like Rockingham. Cody Majorek is up here in the conversation now as well. We have to remember, we're talking about Juan Garcia. If he wins, it moves the cut line. Same deal for Majorek. Majorek was 8th of the 9 remaining playoff drivers. He was 2 points below the cut line. If he wins, he's locked into the final 4. And that moves the cut line down a position. Let's check in on some of our other playoff drivers here. Colin Grace right now is in 7th, trying to catch up to that top 6. Skylar Taylor, who came in tied for the 4th position with Juan Garcia. Right now he's in 8th. Cam Wright Jr. has just gotten shuffled up there to the outside line. He's getting drifted back. Was just scored in 12th. He may lose that to Kyle Langland. Aubrey Powell is right there as well. Again, I don't want to be the one that has to do the math here. We'll wait for all the official wording and whatnot. But, I think it's going to come down to 1 or 2 points. To somebody just barely being in and somebody just barely being out. I honestly am getting that feeling right now. It's like Ralph Mason's going to get shuffled back to 6th. Eli Bright and Jack Mitchell going to make passes on him. As Juan Garcia continues to show the way. He has led now 56 of the completed 60 laps The only drivers besides him that have led, Brody Kupski led 2 laps and then 1 lap led by Eli Bright. That was all during the green flag pit stop cycle. Drivers can make it the rest of the way on fuel. They pitted just past the halfway point, so they are good to go in that regard. Now it's a matter of how much tire have you saved at the end of this race. But Mike Tellier is right there. He is on the back bumper of Juan Garcia. He could show the nose to the inside, but again, we talk about that shallow entry into the corner can hurt you. That's why he's not doing it, especially down there as it narrows up into turn 1. Oh, look at this though. Nice rotation through the center for Mike Tellier as Juan Garcia, that one little slip up, and Tellier will go to the point. And now this changes the landscape of the playoff standings. Because remember, with Garcia out in front, we were doing all the calculations as if he was going to win this race. Oh, he's going to get a nice run there on the top side though through 1 and 2. Can Tellier stay to his inside through 3 and 4? No, he can't. Ooh, Juan slipped up. Tellier's going to battle back. He's got to clear him. He's got to clear Juan Garcia, and now he'll do so. Garcia was using that outside line to his advantage there through 1 and 2. Can he do it again? Can he battle back against Cody Majoric? For second place, Tellier is now clear for the lead. Mike Tellier, a former winner in the Cup Series. It was back season 5 at Homestead Miami Speedway when he drove for Gunther Motorsports. Now looking to add a Lite Series victory to his resume, but there's still a long ways to go in this one too. There's still 15 laps remaining. You got Majoric there in second. He's now cleared Garcia for that spot. He'd love to get up there and get by Tellier, win his way into the Final 4. And Juan Garcia, who led a race-high 58 laps, has now been shuffled back to third. But that could be so important. Those 2 bonus points, leading a lap and leading the most laps, could be a difference maker into him advancing into the Final 4 on points or being the first man out. Looks like Colin Grace is starting to maybe reel in that top group of 6 and is bringing a lot of company with him, including some playoff drivers. Aubrey Powell, Cam Ray Jr. is in this group. Skylar Taylor is back there as well. Closing in on 10 laps to go. Can Mike Tellier pull it off? 26th in points is Mike Tellier. That is the lowest of any of the drivers that has taken every green flag this season. He's even below Craig Batson, who's been to victory lane this season and didn't make his first start till race 4 at Pocono. It has been a struggling season for Mike Tellier. Only 2 top 5s, only 4 top 10s in his previous 25 starts. But that could all change here today if he's able to find victory lane here at Rockingham. Battle is on for second. Cody Majoric and Juan Garcia. Eli Bright going to gain some ground now on Garcia, who had another slip up there through 3 and 4. Garcia may have used up a lot of his stuff right there. A lot of that grip may have gone away as he was trying to fend off the challenge of Mike Tellier. And now he may be just at the mercy of the drivers behind him, just trying to preserve what he can. Majoric ran about a half groove higher there through 3 and 4. Let's see if that allows him to close up at all on Mike Tellier. This win may not be done and dusted. We thought it might be when Juan Garcia was putting on a clinic, and now look what's happened. He's back to third and Tellier's leading, so we can't give this win away just yet. Fastest lap of this race laid down by David Dixon at a 26.631, and Dixon is all the way back in 23rd position. Looks like we can start to maybe check some names off the list of drivers that may not be advancing Roberto Crown Jr. still mired back in 22nd. Kyle Langland is back in 19th. Skylar Taylor is 17th. Those drivers right now look like they would be in danger of being below the cut line at the conclusion of this one, even if a non-playoff driver goes to victory lane. But the jury is still out as to who those other two drivers would be. Oh, three drivers, I should say, that would advance into the Final Four, joining Eli Bright. Juan Garcia, you could certainly make a case for him here today. Inside the top 5, has led the most laps. Cam Wright Jr., he's back there just on the outside of the top 10. Did he have enough of a points cushion that'd be enough for him to be able to advance? Colin Grace, Aubrey Powell, they're up inside the top 10 right now in 8th and 10th. Have they done enough? Cody Majorek right now in 2nd, hounding for the race lead. Would this be enough points garnered for him to get into a Final Four spot? I don't think he wants to worry about that. He's putting the pressure on Tellier, trying to take this win. Cody won at another racetrack that's very well known for being abrasive on the tires, the short track of Iowa. What information was he able to glean from that he can apply here as he looks to take this lead, take this win away from Tellier? They'll be coming around this time for 5 laps to go. And these last couple of times through 3 and 4, Majorek has run about a half groove lower, getting some clean air to the nose, trying to get that rotation through the center of the corner. He's been able to keep Tellier within striking distance. Here he is again with a great charge off of 2. Tellier will run the defensive line down the back straightaway, though. Oh, look at the run Majorek was able to get there. Can he get to the left rear quarter panel? I don't think he quite got there. Almost, though. He'll send it into 1. That is a very shallow entry for the 70. That might cost him on exit. And it will. Look at the gap that Mike Tellier was able to open. Majorek has a limited amount of time here to even get back up to Mike Tellier, let alone try and set him up for a pass. Can he do it, though? It looks like he might have a slightly better car than Tellier, but Tellier has the clean air and he's got the track position. And that usually will win out every time at a track like Rockingham. We got a big pack of drivers back here as it looks like that second group. Some of them have reeled in the first group, along with Jackson Hayward, Sean Galligan, Powell, Grace, and others. This time by going to be 2 laps to go. About 3 car lengths from Tellier back to Majorek. All Majorek can do right now is just hold that second spot, hope that it's enough to get him into the Final Four, as I think he may have used up his stuff on that first attempt to get around Mike Tellier. Trying a higher line through 3 and 4 to get a good run here, coming to the white flag. He's closing. Tellier going to run very shallow into 1, hugs that yellow line. He's got about a car length back to Majorek, who's got a big run. Big run coming. Where does he go with it? Can Majorek make a move? Tellier pins it right down the bottom. Little slip up, little more, but does not open up the door. Mike Tellier is going to find victory lane for the first time in his Duracell Ultralight Series career. He'll take the checkered flag here this afternoon at Rockingham. Becomes the 3rd non-playoff driver to win during the playoffs, which means that the 3 drivers that will join Eli Bright in the Final Four will be getting in on points. We will have to wait and see who those drivers are. And we may not necessarily verbally have the word for you on who those drivers are going to be. We'll have to wait for the calculations to take place. But it is going to be super, super close. Congratulations to Mike Tellier, the driver that came into this race of the full-time Light Series drivers, dead last in points, finds himself a checkered flag and a trip to victory lane in the closing stages of this season. And let's take a look at the finishing results from this one. You make a guess. It's probably better than mine of who you think those final four competitors are going to be. You can make arguments here just visually for a number of them. Cody Majoric in second, Juan Garcia in third. He led the most laps. He got the bonus point there. He also got the bonus point for leading a lap. You've got Eli Bright already locked in, but Colin Grace, Aubrey Powell, Cam Wright Jr., 9th, 10th, 11th. Did they do enough? Powell was 1 point below the cut line. Grace was 1 point below the cut line. Cam was 6 points above the cut line. I don't know. Garcia may have leapfrogged Cam Wright Jr. Cody Majoric may have leapfrogged Cam Wright Jr. I don't honestly have the official, obviously we gotta wait for the calculations. If I'm giving a guesstimation here, folks, of who I think the final four competitors are, and again, do not quote me on this, I am not 100% sure, but if I had to make an educated guess, who do I think the final four competitors are, just based off of doing some rough math in my head, which I've already stated this numerous times, usually is incorrect. Eli Bright, we know, is already locked in. I believe the other three drivers that have locked themselves into final four positions are runner-up finisher tonight, Cody Majoric, third place finisher, Juan Garcia, and I believe 11th place in comparison to where the other drivers around him in points finished. I believe Cam Wright Jr. has gotten the final position. Again, that is my guesstimation. It is not official. Wait until you see the point standings for the official word on who the final four are. But I believe it is Bright, Cam Wright Jr., Juan Garcia, and Cody Majoric. We'll have to wait and see. Couple things we do know for certain. Mike Tellier is the winner of this race, and there are a few drivers that did not finish well that more than likely are going to fall into the eliminated category. Skylar Taylor drifted way back late in this one to finish 23rd. He was tied for the cut line spot. No way that he garnered enough points to still remain above the cut line. Roberto Crown Jr. came into this race below the cut line. He was 9th of the 9 playoff drivers. He needed a top 5 run at least to be able to still be in the hunt. 20th place is not going to do it. Kyle Langland came into this race only 4 points to the good. Number of drivers behind him in the standings ran well here today. Powell, Majoric, Grace, Juan Garcia. 18th, or make that 19th, is not going to be enough for Kyle Langland to be able to advance. So those three drivers, I'm fairly certain they have been eliminated. But it is going to be really, really close for that final spot in the final four. It's going to be between Colin Grace, Aubrey Powell, and Cam Wright Jr. But I believe Cam Wright Jr. is being just behind them going to have enough of that cushion that we talked about where he'll get the final spot. So again, do not take my word for it. We'll see in just a minute who officially the 4 drivers will be that will compete for the championship next week at Michigan. We thank you for tuning into today's race here from Rockingham. If you enjoyed it, be sure to give this video a like, subscribe to become a part of the crew today. We have shown you your full figure results. Here's a look at your point standings. Take a look. Eli Bright and the top 3 point standings finishers along with him. Those are your final 4 to compete for the title next week. We'll see if I'm right. I believe it is Bright, Garcia, Majoric, and Cam Wright Jr. It may be entirely different. We'll amend that when we get to Michigan next week if necessary. But thank you all for tuning in. Join us tomorrow for the Cup Series race here from Rockingham. We'll set the final 4 there as well. We already know Daniel Voiles is locked in. 3 drivers will join him at the conclusion of that race. If today's race is anything to go by, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be an interesting one. And as we saw here, cannot give that win away too early. Congratulations once again to Mike Tellier on his victory here today at Rockingham. We'll see you guys tomorrow at 1 for Cup Series action to close out our race weekend from Rockingham, as you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of NNSCRA TV, offline racing at its best.
following has been a presentation of NNSCRA TV for the private use of our audience. Any other use of this telecast or any pictures, descriptions, or accounts of the game without the consent of the NNSCRA is prohibited. NNSCRA would like to thank all of our loyal fans, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.